Lauren never thought betrayal could be so quiet. She always imagined it would come crashing down, like a car wreck, loud and violent. But instead, it came in the form of a single email, one she wasn't meant to see. She had been searching for the hotel reservation for their anniversary weekend when her laptop autofilled Logan's email in the search bar. Her stomach clenched as a subject line caught her eye. "I miss you. When can I see you again?" Her pulse pounded as she clicked. The sender's name was unfamiliar, Aubrey Tate, but the words inside felt sickeningly intimate. "Last night was incredible. I can still smell you on my skin. I hate pretending when we're apart, counting the days until we can be together again." Lauren's hand shook as she scrolled through months of messages, snapshots of a relationship unfolding in secret, soft apologies, late-night longing, plans made while she was home with their 2 sons, packing lunches, believing in a life that was nothing but smoke. Her throat burned as she slammed the laptop shut. The walls of their home, their perfect home, seemed to close in around her. The wedding photos lining the mantel mocked her. The navy suit hanging by the door, the same one Logan had worn to work late last night, suddenly felt like a prop in a cruel performance. She wanted to scream, to throw something, to wake Logan up and demand the truth right then and there. But a sickening thought rooted her in place. What if he lies? What if he tells me it's not what it looks like? Because wasn't that what men like him always did? Lauren's fingers dug into the wooden edge of the kitchen island as she steadied herself. She couldn't confront him blindly. She needed to be sure. She needed proof. As if on cue, a light flickered from down the hall. A shadow moved under the bedroom door. Logan, probably restless in his sleep. She watched it, heart thudding in her ears before turning toward the guest room. Tonight she wouldn't sleep beside him. Tonight, she would gather every piece of evidence she could find. And tomorrow she would burn his world to the ground. Morning came like an unwanted guest, slipping through the blinds and settling heavy on Lauren's chest. She hadn't slept. Instead, she spent the night combing through Logan's digital trail, old emails, hidden photo albums, Uber receipts. The affair wasn't new. It had been going on for almost a year, a full year of lies woven so seamlessly into their daily life that she had never questioned a thing. There were weekend business trips that had nothing to do with work, a surprise golf outing that, in reality, was a getaway at a beachfront hotel. Even their youngest son's school recital, Logan had missed it due to an emergency meeting, but she now had proof that the only emergency was a candlelit dinner with her. Lauren had never felt so foolish in her life. But by the time the sun peeked over the horizon, something inside her shifted. She wasn't going to cry in front of him. She wasn't going to give him the satisfaction of seeing her broken. So when Logan emerged from their bedroom, yawning, scratching at his stubble like it was just another Tuesday, Lauren was already at the stove, flipping pancakes for their boys. "Morning," he muttered, pressing a quick kiss to her cheek. His lips barely lingered before he turned to pour his coffee. Lauren gripped the spatula tighter. "Liar." "Morning," she replied evenly. She could feel his eyes on her as she plated the pancakes, her movements too precise, too controlled. Did he sense it? That something was off? If he did, he didn't show it. He just settled into his usual routine, sipping coffee, checking emails, scrolling through the news. As if last night's texts with Aubrey Tate weren't still sitting in his inbox. As if his wife wasn't standing right in front of him, suffocating under the weight of what she now knew. Their 2 boys, Owen and Caleb, burst into the kitchen moments later, their chatter filling the air. Lauren turned to them with a smile, one she didn't feel. But that was the role of a mother, wasn't it? To make sure her children never felt the storm raging just beyond their home's perfect walls. Logan ruffled Owen's hair and gave Caleb a playful shoulder squeeze. Perfect husband, devoted father. If someone had walked in right now, they'd never suspect a thing. But Lauren wasn't just looking at her husband anymore. She was studying him, watching the way he laughed at Owen's joke. The way he absent-mindedly drummed his fingers against his coffee cup. The way his left hand, the one that wore his wedding band, never once hesitated before picking up his phone. A phone that contained months of betrayal, right in his palm. Her stomach twisted. She had options. She could confront him now in front of their kids and watch the carefully built image of their happy family crumble in real time. She could wait until the boys were at school and force the truth out of him, watch him stumble over excuses, deny until he couldn't anymore. Or she could play the long game, a deep breath, a bite of pancake, a glance across the table where Logan sat completely unaware that his world was about to collapse. Yes, she would wait. She would make him think everything was fine, let him believe she was still the oblivious, trusting wife. And then, when he least expected it, she'd make sure he lost everything. By the time Lauren dropped Owen and Caleb off at school, her hands were steady, her face a mask of perfect calm. "Love you, Mom," Owen called as he slammed the car door shut. Lauren smiled, waving as both boys sprinted toward the entrance. The moment they disappeared inside, her smile vanished. She pulled into a quiet parking lot down the street and reached for her phone. The email from Aubrey Tate was still open, taunting her, The name felt like poison in her mouth. Who was this woman? Lauren had spent the past 12 hours digging, but Aubrey Tate wasn't easy to find. No public Instagram, no Facebook profile with a smiling profile picture she could scrutinize. But Logan had been sloppy. There was one reservation at a restaurant made in his name for two, and when Lauren had called, playing the role of a frazzled wife needing to confirm the details, the hostess had helpfully given her Aubrey's phone number. Now Lauren stared at the digits, her thumb hovering over the call button. What would she say? "Hi, this is Logan's wife. Did you enjoy your dinner?" She nearly laughed at how absurd it was. But this wasn't a joke. This woman had been sleeping with her husband, in her bed if the hotel receipts were any clue. Lauren inhaled sharply and pressed call. It rang once, twice, 3 times. Then a voice, soft, smooth, unsuspecting. "Hello?" Lauren clenched her jaw. She hadn't expected her to answer. Aubrey sounded young, too young, and in that instant the image Lauren had been crafting of her, some cold, calculating mistress, shattered. She wasn't a homewrecker in designer heels, cackling over stolen husbands. She was just a woman. Lauren forced herself to speak. "Is this Aubrey?" A brief pause. Then, carefully, "Yes." "Who's this?" Lauren swallowed down the bile rising in her throat. "It's Lauren, Logan's wife." Silence. Then, just barely above a whisper. "Oh. Not oh no. Not I'm so sorry. Just oh." Lauren's fingers tightened around the steering wheel. "I know about you," she said, voice sharp enough to cut. "I know about the emails, the hotels. I know everything." Aubrey exhaled shakily. Lauren didn't let her finish. "Did you know about me?" Silence again. And that was all the answer she needed. "Right," Lauren muttered. "Of course you did. I didn't mean for this to happen." Lauren let out a short, humorless laugh. "Really? You didn't mean to sleep with a married man?" "I didn't know at first." Aubrey's voice wavered. "He told me he was getting a divorce, that you were done." A slow, burning rage coiled in Lauren's stomach. Of course, Logan had spun his lies so neatly. He had always been good at that. "But you found out," Lauren said coldly, "and you stayed." Aubrey hesitated. I thought he loved me." Lauren closed her eyes, breathing through the anger. "Well, I hope that lie was worth it, because I'm not going to let him walk away from this unscathed." Aubrey was quiet. Then, in a voice barely above a whisper, she said something Lauren hadn't expected. "Neither am I." Lauren's eyes snapped open. "What?" Aubrey hesitated. I think you should know you're not the only one he's lying to." The word sent a chill down Lauren's spine. She tightened her grip on the phone. "What do you mean?" Aubrey exhaled shakily. "Has been lying to me too, about a lot of things." Lauren's pulse pounded in her ears. She had called this woman to confront her, to put her in her place. She hadn't expected to find an ally. Aubrey's voice was softer now, almost guilty. "If you want the whole truth, we need to meet." Lauren stared out the windshield, the weight of everything settling in. She had thought she knew the depth of Logan's betrayal. But as it turned out, she was only scratching the surface. Lauren sat in the corner of the caf, her hands wrapped around a cup of untouched coffee. The place was quiet for a mid-morning hour, the air thick with the scent of roasted beans and vanilla. She kept her eyes on the entrance, waiting. A part of her still questioned why she was even here. What more could she possibly learn that would make this situation any worse? Logan had already lied. He had already broken their vows, their family. But something about the way Aubrey had spoken on the phone, the hesitation, the guilt, made Lauren feel like there was another piece to the story she hadn't uncovered yet. And she needed to know everything. The door swung open, and Lauren recognized her immediately. Aubrey Tate. She was younger than Lauren had expected, mid to late 20s, with wavy brown hair and big, nervous eyes. She wore a beige sweater, jeans, and a crossbody bag slung over her shoulder. There was nothing flashy about her, nothing that screamed mistress or homewrecker. She just looked small. Aubrey spotted Lauren and hesitated, gripping the strap of her bag like it was a lifeline. Then, cautiously, she walked over. "Hi," Aubrey said, her voice barely above a whisper. Lauren sat back, studying her. "Sit." Aubrey obeyed, sliding into the chair across from her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then Lauren broke the silence. "Tell me." Aubrey inhaled sharply, tucking her hair behind her ear. "I don't know where to start." Lauren's nails tapped against the ceramic of her coffee cup. "Start with how long you've been sleeping with my husband." Aubrey flinched, as if the words physically hit her. "Almost a year." Lauren already knew that, but hearing it from her lips made it feel different, heavier. "And you knew he was married?" Lauren pressed. Aubrey hesitated. "Not at first. He told me he was separated, that you two were over but hadn't gone public yet." Lauren swallowed the bitter taste rising in her throat. She could almost hear Logan's voice, smooth and reassuring. "It's complicated. My wife and I were just keeping up appearances for the kids. But it's over?" "Why did you stay?" Lauren asked. Aubrey sighed, rubbing her temple. "Because I was stupid. Because I wanted to believe him. And because he made me feel like I was the only thing that made him happy." Lauren's grip tightened around her cup. "Of course he did." Aubrey shook her head, her voice unsteady. "But I started noticing things. The way he always kept his phone screen face down. The way he never let me tag him in pictures or post anything, but told me it was because of his job, but something always felt off. Lauren's heart pounded. And then, Aubrey swallowed hard. Then I found out I was pregnant. The words hit like a punch to the gut. Lauren's breath caught, her stomach twisting so violently she thought she might be sick. Pregnant. Logan hadn't just betrayed her. He had started another family. Aubrey's hands trembled as she toyed with the paper napkin in front of her. I told him, thinking he'd be happy, but instead he panicked. He said it wasn't the right time, that he couldn't handle it, that we needed to be discreet. Her lips twisted, like I was some dirty little secret. Lauren's head spun. This wasn't happening. This wasn't real. She took a slow, measured breath. What did he say when you told him you weren't getting rid of it? Aubrey gave a small, bitter laugh. Oh, he didn't give me the option. He made it clear that if I kept the baby, he was done with me. No support, no relationship, nothing. Lauren clenched her fists. That bastard. She had always known Logan was selfish, that he could be emotionally distant, but this was cruelty. Aubrey wiped at her eyes, sniffling. I was heartbroken, but I did it. I terminated the pregnancy. Her voice cracked on the last word. And after that, I couldn't even look at him the same way. I saw who he really was. Lauren's chest ached, but she forced herself to stay steady. And now, Aubrey's eyes darkened. Now I want to make sure he pays for what he's done. Lauren studied her carefully. She had come here expecting a confrontation, expecting to meet the woman who had stolen her husband. Instead, she found someone just as broken as she was. Lauren exhaled slowly, her mind already racing with possibilities. Then, let's make sure he does. Lauren sat in her car long after Aubrey had left, fingers tapping against the steering wheel in a steady rhythm. She had walked into that cafe expecting to hate the woman sitting across from her. Instead, she walked out with something far more valuable. An ally. And a plan. Logan had built a life on carefully crafted lies, but those lies were about to come crashing down around him. Lauren wasn't impulsive by nature. If she had been, she would have thrown his clothes onto the front lawn and set them on fire the moment she read that first email. She would have screamed, sobbed, let the raw emotion take over. But that wasn't who she was. Lauren believed in control, in precision, and she was going to make sure that when Logan fell, he fell hard. Her first step? Money. Logan had always been the one who handled their finances. Not because Lauren wasn't capable, but because that's how their marriage had fallen into rhythm. She managed the house, the boys, the day-to-day chaos. He managed investments, accounts, the big picture. But Lauren wasn't stupid. She had access to everything. Joint accounts, credit cards, savings. And before Logan even suspected she knew, she was going to make sure she had control. She pulled out her phone and opened her banking app, scrolling through their statements with sharp eyes. There it was. A second account. Not in her name. Not in their name. Just Logan's. And it wasn't small. Lauren's stomach turned. How long had he been preparing for his escape? How long had he been shifting money aside, making sure that if things went south, he wouldn't be left empty-handed? She clenched her jaw. Too bad for him. She was getting there first. Step 2. The lie trap. Lauren had always been an observant wife. She noticed Logan's patterns, the way he operated, and right now he thought she was still blissfully unaware. She planned to keep it that way. Aubrey had agreed to help. Lauren had been hesitant at first, unsure if she could really trust her, but Aubrey had nothing left to lose. Logan had destroyed her just as much, and right now, Lauren needed someone on the inside. So Aubrey was going to do what she did best, pretend. She would text Logan, ask to meet, play along like she was still the naive girl he had manipulated. And when he inevitably spewed more lies about his marriage, about his love for her, Lauren would have it all. Recorded, the texts, the voicemails, the pathetic excuses, because Logan wasn't just cheating. He was a liar, a fraud, and soon he'd have no way to talk his way out of it. Step 3. The public execution. Lauren had no interest in a quiet divorce. She wasn't going to be the woman who amicably separated from her husband while he got to walk away with his reputation intact. She wanted ruin. His job, his standing in their social circle, his relationship with the kids. She was taking it all. By the time she was done, people wouldn't just know what Logan had done. They'd see it in court records. They'd read it in the local news. Hell, she was even considering exposing him to his own mother. And that, more than anything, would shatter him. Because Logan lived for appearances, for the illusion of a perfect life, and soon that illusion would be gone. Lauren exhaled slowly, her hands steady on the wheel. By the end of this, Logan wouldn't just lose his wife. He'd lose everything, and he wouldn't even see it coming. Lauren played her part perfectly. That evening, when Logan came home from work, she was already in the kitchen, humming as she chopped vegetables for dinner. The boys were in the living room, their laughter spilling into the space like nothing was wrong, like everything was normal. "Hey, babe," Logan greeted, placing a quick kiss on her cheek. The scent of his cologne mixed with the sharp tang of betrayal that clung to him like a second skin. Lauren smiled, tilting her head up. "Hey, how was work?" Logan sighed, running a hand through his hair. "Exhausting. Meetings all day. A lie?" Lauren knew exactly where he'd been. Aubrey had texted her the moment he left her apartment. "He's on his way home. Told me he's trapped in a loveless marriage. that he's staying for the kids. Lauren had laughed when she read it. The same tired excuses, the same script cheaters always use to justify their selfishness. But she didn't let any of that show now. Instead, she placed a glass of wine in front of him, just like she always did. "Well, at least you're home now," she said sweetly. Logan exhaled, loosening his tie. "Yeah, thank God." Lauren's fingers tightened around the knife. "You have no idea what's coming. Step 1. Control the money." While Logan was showering, Lauren slipped into his office. She moved quickly, opening his desk drawer and pulling out the small black notebook where he scribbled down reminders, password hints, bank information he didn't trust to the cloud. She flipped through it, her pulse steady. There, the account number for his secret fund. It took her less than 5 minutes to log into his separate bank account on her phone. She didn't transfer the money, not yet. That would tip him off too soon. But she did something even more ruthless. She froze the account. A quick call to the bank, her voice calm, confident, was all it took. "My husband and I are reviewing some fraudulent activity," she told the representative. "We'd like to put a temporary hold on any withdrawals." The bank complied. By the time Logan checked his balance, he'd find himself locked out of his own safety net. First move made. 2. The lie trap. Aubrey played her part just as well. The next morning, while Logan was at work, Lauren got the text, "Has meeting me for dinner tonight." Lauren smiled. Aubrey had suggested a small restaurant across town, one that just so happened to have security cameras and a waiter willing to record audio for a small tip. "Logan's a good guy," the man had chuckled when Lauren explained the setup. "But I've seen him here before. Not with you." Lauren had only smiled. Tonight, Logan was going to talk himself into a corner. He'd whisper the same pathetic lines to Aubrey. He'd promise her a future, tell her he was just waiting for the right moment to leave his wife, and every single word would be recorded. Step 3. The public execution. Lauren had already scheduled the meeting with their lawyer. She had the documents, the proof, the bank records, the emails, everything. And the moment Logan walked into that office expecting a clean, amicable divorce, he was going to realize the truth. Lauren wasn't just leaving him. She was taking the house. She was taking full custody of their children. She was walking away with everything. And Logan? He'd walk away with nothing. Not even his precious reputation. The beginning of the end. That night, as Logan kissed her goodbye and told her he had another late meeting, Lauren only smiled. "Don't work too hard," she murmured. Logan chuckled, completely oblivious. "Always do." She watched him leave. And for the first time in a long time, Lauren felt powerful. The cracks in his perfect life had started. And soon, it was all coming down. Lauren sat on the couch, her fingers lightly drumming against the armrest. The boys were in bed, the house silent, except for the occasional tick of the grandfather clock in the hallway. Logan still wasn't home, but Lauren knew exactly where he was. Her phone buzzed. A message from Aubrey. "Hez here. Just sat down. Same lies, same excuses. He told me he loves me again. Want me to push him harder?" Lauren exhaled slowly, her lips curving into a faint smirk. "Yes, get him to talk about the money, about leaving me." She wanted everything on record. Aubrey's response came a few moments later. "He took the bait. He says he's been moving money so we can start fresh soon. He's lying straight to my face. He still thinks I don't know about you." Lauren's grip tightened around her phone. He was planning to run. She had suspected it, the secret account, the hidden transactions, the hesitations when she talked about the future. But now she had the proof. And soon Logan would have nothing left to run with. The first blow. By the time Logan strolled through the front door, just past midnight, shirt slightly rumpled, smelling faintly of expensive bourbon, Lauren was already seated at the kitchen island, sipping tea. He blinked at her, surprised. "Still up?" Lauren smiled, tilting her head. "Yeah, just couldn't sleep." He yawned, setting his briefcase down. "Yeah, same. Long day. Another lie." She studied him as he stretched, rolling his shoulders like a man with nothing to worry about. "Oh," she said casually, "I got a weird call today." Logan froze. It was subtle. A fraction of a second too long before he turned to look at her. "Yeah?" He kept his voice light, but Lauren saw it. The flicker of something tightening in his jaw. She continued, swirling her tea. "From the bank." His face went carefully blank. "Apparently there was a hold placed on an account under your name. Something about unusual activity." She let her gaze sharpen. "Any idea why?" Logan chuckled, shaking his head as he reached for a glass. "Probably just a mix-up. He'll handle it tomorrow." Lauren set her cup down with a soft clink. "I already did." Silence. Logan's hand paused mid-pour. Slowly he turned. "What?" "I called them." She leaned forward, her voice eerily calm. "Since you know it's our money, too." A flicker of panic darted across his face before he masked it. "Lauren, She cut him off with a soft laugh. "You know what's funny? They said someone called earlier, trying to move the money." She let the words sink in. But unfortunately for them, the account was frozen. A muscle ticked in Logan's jaw. "That's my personal savings. It has nothing to do with me?" Her voice hardened, the mask finally slipping. "So tell me, Logan, were you planning to tell me about this before or after you drained it completely?" Logan exhaled sharply, rubbing a hand down his face. "Lauren, it's not what it looks like." Oh, really? She arched a brow. Because to me, it looks a whole lot like you were stashing money so you could walk away without a scratch. He ran a hand through his hair, his face contorting into something that almost resembled remorse. But Lauren knew better now. Look, he started, his tone shifting. Calm, reasonable, manipulative. We can talk about this, okay? It's complicated. Lauren's laughter was cold. Oh, I bet it is. She stood, slowly, walking around the kitchen island until she was standing inches from him. You know what else is complicated? She murmured, her voice deceptively soft. That little dinner you had tonight. Logan's face drained of color. What? Lauren tilted her head. You know, the one where you promised another woman you'd leave me soon? She stepped even closer, her voice dropping. The one where you lied to her too? His mouth opened, closed, opened again. Lauren could almost see the calculations in his eyes. Deny, deflect, attack? She didn't give him the chance. With a slow, deliberate movement, she reached into her pocket and pulled out her phone. Pressed play. Logan's own voice filled the room. I just need a little more time. She's been distant lately. I think she suspects something. But once the money's in place, it'll be free. Lauren watched the blood drain from his face. You really thought you could outsmart me? She whispered, shaking her head. That I wouldn't see you for what you are? Logan took a shaky breath. Lauren, let me explain. She held up a finger. No. I talk now. His mouth snapped shut. She exhaled, a cruel smile curving her lips. You see, Logan, I thought about screaming at you. About breaking things. About throwing you out tonight. She tilted her head, eyes flashing. But that would be too easy. Logan swallowed hard. Lauren leaned in, just enough that he could see the pure certainty in her gaze. I'm going to make sure you lose everything. He stiffened. Lauren, she smiled, cutting him off. And the best part, she stepped back, grabbing her tea, turning away like she wasn't even bothered anymore. You won't even see it coming. Then, without another word, she walked upstairs. And Logan? For the first time since this all began, he looked truly, genuinely afraid. Logan didn't sleep that night. Lauren could hear him pacing downstairs, hear the occasional muffled curse, as he no doubt tried to figure out just how much she knew. Good. She wanted him off balance. The next morning, she played her role to perfection. She acted as if nothing had changed, kissed the boys goodbye as she dropped them at school, made small talk about their upcoming science fair project. Logan sat stiffly at the kitchen table, barely touching his coffee, his eyes flickering to her every few seconds. He was waiting for her to explode, waiting for the confrontation he assumed was coming. Lauren just smiled at him sweetly. Long night? She asked, tilting her head. Logan forced a chuckle. Yeah, just a lot on my mind. I bet, she murmured, grabbing her purse. Well, don't work too hard today. She could feel his confusion as she walked out the door. She wasn't reacting the way he expected. And that was the most powerful thing she could do. Phase 2, the kill shot. Lauren's next stop was her lawyer's office. She had already gathered everything she needed, the financial records, the proof of infidelity, the recorded evidence of his intent to hide assets. I assume you're ready to proceed? Her lawyer Cheryl asked as she flipped through the documents. Lauren's smile was sharp. Absolutely, Cheryl smirked. Good. Because with what you've given me, you're walking away with everything. Lauren leaned back in her chair, exhaling slowly. It was finally happening. Let's file. Phase 3, the public reckoning. Aubrey had done her part. The video she had recorded at dinner, the one where Logan had blatantly lied about his wife, his intentions, everything, was now sitting in Lauren's inbox. Waiting. Lauren wasn't the type to air her dirty laundry publicly, but this wasn't just about revenge. This was about control. Because Logan thrived on his reputation. He was the devoted husband, the respectable businessman, the pillar of the community, and soon, that image would shatter. Lauren tapped her fingers against her phone, considering her next move. She could send it directly to his boss, to his mother, to their mutual friends who always worshipped him, or she could let Logan destroy himself. A slow, methodical fall from grace. Aubrey's message popped up. You good? Need me to push further? Lauren smiled. No, he'll push himself over the edge soon enough. Phase 4, the tipping point. That evening, Logan walked in the door looking wrecked. Lauren didn't bother acknowledging him as she set the table for dinner. The boys were already sitting down, chattering about their day. Logan hesitated in the doorway. Lauren, can we talk? She arched a brow. Now, we're about to eat. His jaw tensed, but he forced a smile for the boys. Right. Well, talk later. Lauren nodded, as if she wasn't holding his entire world in her hands. As if she didn't already know what came next, because the papers had been filed. The financial hold had been locked. And tomorrow, Logan would wake up to find everything slipping away. But for now, she let him sit at the table, eat his meal, pretend, just for a little while longer, that his life wasn't about to burn. Because the best revenge was making him think he still had a chance. Chapter 9. The trap springs shut. Morning broke with an eerie stillness. Lauren was already awake, sipping coffee at the kitchen island when Logan stumbled downstairs. He looked like he hadn't slept, his normally sharp appearance dulled by dark circles and a furrowed brow. She didn't greet him, didn't need to, because in exactly 30 minutes his world was going to start crumbling. Logan cleared his throat. Lauren, Ding! His phone buzzed. Then again. And again. Logan frowned, reaching for it. Lauren didn't even have to look to know what it was. She had timed it perfectly. The first blow, the frozen accounts. Why the F is my card declining? Logan's voice was tight, his controls slipping as he furiously tapped at his phone screen. Lauren smirked into her coffee. Something wrong? His head snapped up, eyes wild. My accounts, I can't access them. He ran a frustrated hand through his hair, voice rising. They're locked. Lauren set her cup down with a soft clink. Oh right, she feigned innocence. You mean the account you've been funneling money into behind my back? Logan froze. What? His voice cracked. She tilted her head, her smile razor sharp. I told you, Logan, you won't even see it coming. The second blow. The paperwork. Before he could recover, Lauren reached into the drawer and slid a crisp stack of papers across the island. Go ahead, she said smoothly. Take a look. Logan's hands shook as he flipped through the documents. Divorce papers, custody agreements, a formal complaint citing financial misconduct. And the best part? The prenup, the one he had insisted on when they got married, ensured that he walked away with nothing. Lauren watched as realization hit. His breathing turned ragged. You set me up, she shrugged. I just let you dig your own grave. The final blow. The scandal, then came the death blow. Lauren pulled out her phone, tapped a few times, and turned the screen toward him. It was the video, the one Aubrey had recorded. Logan paled. His own voice filled the kitchen, the lies, the deceit, the confession that he was waiting to leave his wife once the money was in place. Lauren arched a brow. You really should be more careful about where you have your secret rendezvous. Logan staggered back, his entire world tilting beneath him. If you send that to... Oh, I already have. His breath hitched. Lauren's voice was soft but merciless. Your boss, your colleagues, your mother. She smirked. Hell, even the PTA group chat. Logan looked like he might vomit. Lauren, please. She stood, smoothing her hands over her blouse. You spent a year lying to me, she said calmly. Another woman, a secret account, a plan to leave me and take everything while I stayed home and played the good wife. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. How does it feel to lose before you even got the chance? Logan cracked. Lauren, let's just talk. His voice was desperate now. Please, we can fix this. We can... She laughed. A real, full, vicious laugh. Oh, Logan, she shook her head, grabbing her past that. And with that, she walked out the door, leaving him drowning in the wreckage of his own making. The papers were signed. Logan sat across from her in the lawyer's office, his face a hollowed-out version of the man she once knew. His hair was unkempt, his tie loosened, his eyes haunted. He had spent the last week trying everything, begging, bargaining, threatening, but nothing had worked. Lauren had been 10 steps ahead of him the entire time. She watched as he scrawled his signature on the final page, his hand shaking slightly. And with that, it was done. Their marriage, his lies, his betrayal, the facade of their perfect life, officially over. Lauren exhaled slowly, a weight lifting from her chest. She had won. She got full custody of their boys. She kept the house. She had taken everything he had tried to steal from her. And Logan? Logan was ruined. His company had already distanced itself, putting him on leave while they conducted an internal review. His friends, they weren't returning his calls. His mother? Furious. And Aubrey had moved on. Lauren had spoken to her once more, long enough to let her know that they had both been played, that neither of them were the villain in this story. Aubrey had nodded, eyes heavy with regret. I hope you burn his world down, she had whispered. Lauren had only smiled. She already had. The last goodbye. Outside the lawyer's office, Logan followed her to the sidewalk. Lauren, he tried, his voice raw. I never meant. She turned, staring at him like he was a stranger. Because he was. You meant every lie you told, she said simply. His mouth opened, closed. No excuses left. Lauren sighed, tilting her head. You know what the worst part is, Logan? She murmured. He swallowed hard. What? She smiled. You thought I'd break. She stepped closer, looking him dead in the eye. But I didn't. Logan's face twisted in something that looked like regret. She held up a hand. We're done. Then, without another word, she walked away. And this time, she didn't look back. The beginning of something new. The house was hers now. Lauren stood in the doorway that night, looking around at the home she had built, the life she had protected. The boys were asleep upstairs. The weight in her chest was finally gone. And for the first time in years, she felt something unexpected. Peace. She wasn't the naive wife anymore. She wasn't the woman Logan had underestimated. She was stronger, smarter, free. And as she curled up on the couch with a glass of wine, exhaling deeply, she smiled. Because this was just the beginning.